for the students to watch later. Like I said, we have 2 students here. I'm going to also make sure that I pin both of us. So we're both on the screen. There we go. All right. Just seeing how it looks. Okay, great. So how are you doing today?
Good, thanks.
Good. So, well, let me start by just having you introduce yourselves and then your company.
Go ahead.
My name's Yasmina Bizri, and
I'm Tina, and my daughters and my son created Mino. Mino is a mask base company.
but we're branching out into other products like purses and children's clothing and other accessories.
Okay, cool. That'd be one of my questions for later is, you know, where you're going to be going in the future. But so that's one of the first questions I want to ask, so this class is technically called Minority Entrepreneurship, and I'm expanding it to change it to women and minority business owners, because there's debate about just the concept of entrepreneurship and how people identify. So I'm curious on how you each identify yourselves in regards to entrepreneurs, business owners, innovators, or something else.
So I personally identify myself as like a female CEO, which doesn't really, and plus I'm Middle Eastern.
Mm-hmm.
My family's Lebanese.
Right.
So you don't really see a ton of Middle Eastern women CEOs, even though our company is very small. It's still really nice to like stand out and talk about it and show women and other minorities that you can actually do something that might affect a lot of people like our masks business did.
Yeah. Good.
I think I may have been the force behind the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the idea was born when my other daughter had a seizure from the N95s, and she couldn't breathe through those textures. With my knowledge of sewing, with my background of fashion design and being a designer in Paris, I had the keys to help start what Yasmina wanted to do. And knowing what was good to use and not to use, basically the products was what was needed. I mean, if we all three didn't know fabrics, that wouldn't be helpful in our business.
Right.
But I think that's where my forte was.
Okay. But do you think of yourself as an entrepreneur, a founder, designer?
My son loves to call me entrepreneur because I've designed so much. I used to create costumes and stuff. So I guess I guess we fall under there.
Okay. Yeah, this is just something I'm kind of curious about. Like I said, I'm changing the name of the class from entrepreneurship to business owner because I found that entrepreneurship is often most associated with white men, and so I want to get more people who are not white men to realize, you know, this is a path for them. So I'm always curious about, you know, how people kind of call themselves, because it came up in a class several years ago, and you know, it was like the first time out of, you know, a decade of teaching that I had an equal number of women and men in the class, where it was mostly dominated by men at a school that is like 2/3 or something like that women. And so, you know, in conversations, one of the things that came up was that one student said, yeah, my mom has owned a business, you know, as long as I've been alive, but she's never called herself an entrepreneur, just a business owner. And so that kind of had been getting me thinking for a long time. So,
Also what you said, in my field, I was always a designer.
mm-hmm.
And even if I owned my own design, whatever I did, jewelry or whatever, and I stood in bazaars and sold them, I was the designer. I was never called the entrepreneur or the business owner. So it's interesting how the progress.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the questions I like to ask, and I make my students ask, and so a few will remember doing this, is what does being a business owner or a designer or a CEO mean to you?
What does it mean to me?
Yeah, what does it mean to you to be a CEO?
There's definitely a lot of responsibility and work behind it. I can't just put a title on myself and say that I do stuff that I don't, because there were tireless hours that we wouldn't sleep till 2 a.m. trying to fill orders.
Right.
And then I'd be up the next day at 6 a.m. working and helping my mom sew and doing the marketing side and getting in touch with people and sending them pictures, because this was before we had our website. We started selling on Facebook Marketplace, like the couple first months of coronavirus, and it was just, I would be sending people hundreds of prints via Facebook Messenger, and then it's all about the hard work ethic and pivoting when you know it's the right time to pivot. And just to know that you need to put in work.
To answer that question for her, I think she answered it well, but she really she went to FIT for a summer once, and so she learned a little bit more on sewing, where my mom had taught her how to sew. But when she saw the orders piling up and the masks in piles, and we had them with papers of the orders and everything, she figured that she has to get behind the sewing machine. Before, Afif had helped us find sewers, so we outsourced. I was the sewer, and then she figured I better sit down or else mom won't be sleeping at all. So she had to pick up every single side of the business, not only delivering, where she would go to Tanger and have 20 people waiting in their cars with their lights on, so we knew them and they knew us. And she'd go around with her mask on and her goggles and gloves on, and money would be put into a paper bag. And it was, you look at it, it looked like a movie, but she had to run home and fill orders on her phone and be ready, and start doing sewing after that. And everybody had a job and cooking, and we didn't have the cooking job.
Well, that to me is being an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur wears all hats, whereas a CEO really kind of just sort of has the big picture and then tells everybody what to do.
Now she's definitely an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
There was definitely no bossing in this.
Yeah.
We all worked very hard.
You had to pick up where the slack was. But you knew this was your specialty. So my daughter, Noor, would put the filters in. She was fast at that. Or she would turn them over and poke them out. And Yasmina was good with that, but she was also much faster ironing. So she would get a big basket of ironing, doing the ironing.
But one of the things that Yasmina, you mentioned early on was that there are very few women CEOs.
Yes.
So what does it mean to you to be one of those few women CEOs?
It means a lot to me, just because I grew up at a very young age in watching my grandfather in the finance industry and entrepreneurship. So being like him, at one point he was CEO of a Kuwaiti investment company in New York City, and seeing him build that company from like $1 million company to $1 billion company in 35 years.
Wow.
it made me feel very special that, yeah, I wasn't at his level making billions of dollars, but
Yeah.
with a company, but I still got the
Mhm.
title and definitely earned it in my opinion. And I felt like I was not equal, but like, I
He
don't
would
know.
ask her questions that he thought were
Yeah.
fitting, and she would say, "Actually, Grandpa, I was thinking of that too. I don't know how to, figure that one." And it was interesting that
Yeah.
he had questions to ask her because he's retired.
Yeah. Well, I think from just from the discussion so far, I think that a good takeaway here is that you're demonstrating that you don't have to be a man to be a CEO. You don't have to be, an old man to be, to be a CEO, right? So, and so this is getting out there, and people will, see that anyone
Yeah, I'm
can
20.
do it. Yeah,
I'm 20.
yeah,
So we started this business when I was 19 and junior in college. Yeah.
yeah. So can you go back and kind of tell us a little bit about the story about how this came about?
Sure. Well, my mom and my sister it was right when the pandemic hit. My mom and my sister were at Publix wearing their N95 masks that my
Mhm.
mom bought at some store. And my sister has a seizure disorder. And so she used to have more seizures. And so she had an allergic reaction from her N95 mask
Mm.
and it caused her to seize.
Basically, the suffocation because the thickness of it, and they're
Yeah.
not cotton and base.
And so they had to carry her out of Publix. And so when my mom got home, we talked about it and she was like, your sister can't live her life like this till the US figures out what they're going to do about this pandemic. She needs to like be able to like go and do stuff, and all the people like her that are having difficulty even finding masks. So my mom sat at her sewing machine and just put out a prototype and looked at like the different types and the safest in our opinion through research.
Hmm.
Put out a first prototype. My sister put it on some social media and everyone just started, even people we didn't know, they were messaging us asking us how they could get them. And then we started donating solely donations to people in need.
Hmm.
And so people that didn't necessarily need them, the people in need, like homeless people or doctors and nurses, people that really can't afford them, that's who we would donate to. And
Right.
so people that didn't mind paying for them started messaging us and asked, like ordering, and they could choose their prints and they found it really cool. And so that's how it started. Go ahead.
Um, but to answer, I don't know, remember what I wanted to say. Um, through the progression of after making the pattern,
Yeah.
I wasn't comfortable of putting it out or selling it or even giving it as a donation until I was 100% comfortable with the filtration.
Okay.
Anybody can give you a piece of fabric or two, sew it in any decorative matter, and but what is the filtration?
Right.
And then when I started to put my connections out there and say, what are people doing? Because I had friends that were asking me, where did I get my N95s? And that was the connection that how I could get, because I was worried about my kids not having them and stuff. So one of my friends, actually in West Ashley, she told me, Tina, there's this research about this blue filter, and it's a roll.
It's called Toolbox shop towels.
And until she sent me the research, and it started in California because California was ahead of us.
Yeah.
And until I saw the video, the whole 5-minute video, then I was convinced that will be my 3-ply, because I needed a 3-ply that you could take out that filter, throw it away, wash the mask, iron it, and apply. And once I saw that, their research, that you could get it at a low price,
Mhm.
because people were using air conditioned vent stuff, and you had to cut it out and open it, and
Yeah.
that's a mess. And that's when I think really the wheel started to turn, and orders we felt comfortable doing the orders. And then as the months rolled, then we wanted insurance because it became an LLC.
Mhm.
I had researched that and all that, and we needed insurance just to cover all that. So it was interesting for her to learn about all these aspects of how to get there and what it was. But you don't want to put yourself out and sell something if you're not 100% that it's a product that you can be behind.
So the filters we use, they're called toolbox shop towels. You can buy them at like Tractor Supply, and then you can get probably like how many filters?
We used to get about 5 to 4 masks out of one piece of
This
filter.
stuff.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've cut it that shape.
Yeah.
And so you usually mechanics use them to get the grease off their hands.
So the filtration of it is quite thick, and it has quite a few layers intertwined. So it's not like Kleenex or a Bounty tissue paper that when you look at it, really you can see through it. This one, the threads are very much intertwined, but you can tear it.
Yeah. Okay. You commented about that one of the first things you did was reach out to your network, and that really is something that we kind of try and teach about. It's hard to teach somebody a network, but it is important, right? Is those connections.
And it's very true, sir, because even when we tell our kids, you go into college, these are your friends, they become your connections, your professors, their connections, a friend that you meet at a bar or whatever, that's all your contacts, but they become your connections because you never know. This lady was a friend, and that's where it all started.
Yeah. What's really valuable about networks and particularly having them diverse is that everybody has different knowledge, right? So the more diverse your network is, the more diverse access to knowledge that you have. And that's where creativity comes from. The novel aspect of creativity. So, I'm getting into my professor hat here doing, the creativity research. They define creativity as the generation of novel and useful ideas, right? So the novelty comes from the combinations of knowledge being very disparate, very distant, right? And that's where networks really come in handy, right? Like you wouldn't have known about the material,
no,
right? Otherwise, or it would have taken you a lot longer to find it, right? Yeah. So that's one of those. I just want to get that kind of lesson out there, that I always tell students to go out and interact with people, particularly people that you don't normally interact with, because you never know when someone you meet or something you learn will be useful for a solution to something later on.
Very true that you said that. So after everybody had this different hat in our family, Afif is my son, who after seeing how many orders were coming in, and really we were bombarded. We couldn't finish and handle it anymore. And so he said, "Mom, I learned to outsource. You have to get, And I said, "Okay, you can go do that. I don't know, but I can train them not too long." And so he did. He went and put it out on Facebook and put it on Craigslist and put it on, I don't know what other lists. Indeed. And we got people, and he'd make the appointments. They would come. I would sit with them, teach them for half an hour, see their prototype if they learned the first one, the second one, pay them for them, and then set them off with their first 50 and see their quality of work and stuff. Right. And he made I think it was a significant part of this. Another thing I want to tell you, sir, and your audience, is I brought to the table my background. When I was small, I loved designing, and I became a fashion designer and all that. But we wouldn't have rolled and gotten where we were if my daughter and her generation, with the computers and the tech world and all this, truthfully, I've never heard of mom swaps and all this, and she rolled with it, and she, and then went into different ones in different states and different cities, and we were getting orders from New York. How did I get to New York?
Yeah, I actually
also wanted to just touch on what my mom said earlier about sewers. So we wanted to source everything locally. I've gotten asked so many times where we produce our masks, and it made me so proud as one of the founders and the CFO of the company that we provide jobs for local women and to the fabric store, like local fabric stores. Like as a small business, we wanted to help out other small businesses. So we sourced all of our fabric from Fashion Fabrics in Mount Pleasant and 5/8 Seams in West Ashley. And you could see everyone was struggling during coronavirus.
Right.
So like the sewers that we hired and the like fabric stores really appreciated it. Plus, we didn't put a cap on how much the sewers like could earn. If they sewed 50 masks for us, we'd pay them for 50. It was all about like it was competitive. So they could ask for more when they were here dropping off their masks, so they could sew up to like 100 masks for us if they wanted. It's all about like their own speed and how much they wanted to make.
Yeah,
we paid for it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember Afif emailing last year about how do I find sewers, and because it was an email, you see sewers is spelled the same as sewers. I'm like, well, first of all, you need to think about another way of calling that, seamstress or something, because you ask for sewers in written text. But yeah, so I'm glad that worked out.
That launched it.
Yeah, I was also, having watched the interview from last year. If you remember, Jeanette had mentioned Low Country Local First.
Yes.
Did you ever reach out to them?
I did actually reach out, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if we never got together again. We were on a roll or something. But I don't know what happened that I didn't.
Okay. Someone said they were going to come and they didn't show up.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
And that's another part of the business. You really don't know what's going to happen until a couple minutes before.
Right. Well, I was going to say, one of the things that they've always talked about is the importance of buying local, right? So when you see the signs around, ahead of Christmas, buy local, that's Low Country Local First, and they'll talk about how important it is to keep money circulating within an economy, as opposed to, going out elsewhere. And this is now, I'm reminded of that, having watched one of the many documentaries on the Tulsa massacre and the Black Wall Street, and how money was circulating within that community is what helped it really prosper. And what made it eventually decline over time was the money leaving. When, so it's definitely, a great thing to be focused on, trying to keep local as much as you can, even if that means higher prices. It overall improves everybody's well-being in the area.
Something else that you said about connections. So from our sewers, it's sort of moving into the next topic you wanted to, I think you would ask. We asked the sewers, after getting to know them in a few weeks and months, what are you good at? And one sewer said smocking, and one sewer said, I don't know, something else. And so we used that for other products that we wanted to make. We went into smocking little dresses, and with a purse and a mask, and that was on our Maisonette, one of the websites that we were on.
Okay.
And it was just interesting how getting to know what their forte was, to use it in ours.
Yeah, one of the things you learn in strategy class is understanding core competencies.
Mm.
And that's, you're asking people what they're good at and build on that. That's building on core competencies.
What's the word? Core
competencies.
competencies.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's in business terms, it's whatever the business is good at doing, right? So you focus on what you are good at and outsource everything else.
Yep. Yeah.
So, but it's a concept that definitely applies beyond just simple, strategy. I mean, when students reach out to me and say, "Hey, I want to work on a project or do an independent study or, work with you in some way," ask them, what is it that you're good at doing? Let's, try and utilize that in some way.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's an important thing, is to understand what people are good at, and building from that, and understanding, that you can't do everything. You try to do everything, you'll do basically everything mediocre, because you're sacrificing. And so I describe it as, you're making a one size fits all. Nobody wants that.
In my opinion, we tried doing everything ourselves,
Yeah.
including sewing over how many thousand masks? We sewed a lot of masks.
Over
But
10,000.
that's how you get burned out and start hating what you do.
Yeah.
We learned that the hard way. And so we started outsourcing to
And that's
other
when
people.
we found that our characters were changing. So I was very proud of him, in that point, that he saw that mom was being grumpy. We weren't, making our deadlines. We weren't sleeping. And it was
Okay, but we lost a bunch of weight, so that was a plus, because we never had time to eat.
Oh, well.
It was good times. It was a very good learning curve for them too.
So speaking of good times, what was it that you've liked the most over this past year plus of getting this business going?
Oh, honestly, spending time with my mom, because we woke up together, we slept at the same time. It was like nonstop. We were like this. And so it was just awesome, just because, all of my family, my twin older siblings, Noor and Afif, they graduated. And so now it's only me, and I only have a semester left. So we're all kind of going our separate ways soon, which is really sad.
We really found this was a blessing for different reasons.
But also, having the business, it never made us, like, at first, before our business, we were like depressed about coronavirus. What are we going to do in the house with all of these people?
Every night was a different meal.
Yeah.
What theme am I going to make them in food? And I was thinking about it. I was thinking, this is not going to be very good if I'm making a different theme of food every night. And
we're going to run out of food pretty quickly. But it kept us really distracted. When you're busy, you don't have time to think about stuff, especially stuff that makes you really upset, like coronavirus did for everyone at the time. And we couldn't freak out because we were busy helping other people.
Yeah. You get into that state of flow where, you kind of lose track of time, right? You just,
believe it or not, sir, I still think I'm 1 year. And I always ask, like, what month is it?
Yeah. Because that's another thing out of creativity is, there was a book guy wrote called Flow. His name is Csikszentmihalyi, and I'm not going to try and spell that. It's a really long name. But he also wrote on creativity, which was like kind of the basis of my dissertation. But this whole idea of like when you're doing something that you really enjoy, you're kind of zoned in, and the whole concept of time kind of disappears.
Sometimes people that are creative, they start working and then they flow into the evening, evening late hours. I could do that designing, but I couldn't do that studying.
Yeah.
Yeah, time passes by really quickly when you're busy.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what were like the biggest struggles that you had?
At one point, getting fabric, getting good fabrics, stuff that
Black and
people
white. A lot of
Mm.
black was a really high demand.
depleted.
We couldn't
Navy,
find it.
black, it was non-existent.
Like solid,
Black
solid,
solid cotton,
yeah.
navy solid cotton, because everybody was buying it for the army or the navy or something like that, and for businesses, and it was just that was one of the biggest things.
Also, before we started our website, just keeping track of how much inventory we had was hard, because I would send out all of these different print pictures to all these different customers. And then one customer would buy the last one, and then I'd have to say, oh, this one's not available anymore. And so I'd have to keep track of everything on this little phone. It's a lot of work.
So what'd you end up using to keep track of inventory?
Oh, my website. That's when I opened my website on Squarespace. It's a little bit like big and like showy. I like colors, but I built it myself. I rebuilt it like 3 times. So hopefully you like it. It's Mino-Charleston.com.
Yeah.
Look it up.
Yep. So basically you have like a database then or something?
So how we work it, because I'm the that side.
Yeah.
So we would sit down and say, okay, this piece of fabric will give us 10 masks. We'll produce 2 of them for inventory. If we had orders for 2, so we'll produce 4. And then, but on the website, it says that it has 6 left, because between the 2 that are sold, the 2 that are there for inventory, and the 6 that are left, just in case something gets as a mistake, I always put 20% mistake.
And that's how we monitored our inventory. It would have been a whole extra step to have it on a different system, but on the website you can put how many are available, and that's how I did our inventory, because it was just easier.
So just curious, did you program that, or did you like import some software?
Squarespace is a website builder software that you can build your own website. It was pretty easy to use.
Okay.
I recommend it to people that want to use it, but there are some bugs that you have to get around. And I personally am not technology at all. I am numbers. So if you need any financial help, come to me. But it was a really big learning curve to build your own website.
Yeah, definitely.
Unfortunately, I have to leave at 2:15, but I just want to touch on our last, the question you had about what we're doing now, since the masks are at least dying down here. We still get a couple orders per week from people in
California, New Jersey,
New York and stuff, but most of our business in Charleston and South Carolina has died out completely, which we're okay with, because even though we loved our mask business, we
love our old
life too. And so we have definitely pivoted to more of children's clothing. We're about to launch our pajama set line for little girls and boys. And we're also about to launch our purse line and a couple of accessories. So I will definitely send an email out to all of our orders. Also, anyone that wants to be part of our email list, there's a comment thing that you can go to at the bottom of our website, and you can like leave a comment or ask a question. If you just leave your email there, I'll add you to the email list.
Okay. And the website again is
touch on something. We think that the mask business is out, but when sometimes she looks at how many viewers a day
look at our website.
Can you imagine 250 viewers look a day at the website? You know, so it's still
yeah.
Approximately.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's good. I'm just I was gonna say, just say the website again. It's Mino dash
Mino-Charleston.com.
Okay.
And So the purse line and the pajama line will launch in the next 2 weeks. So I'll
Okay.
definitely send out an email to all of the subscribers, and we're really excited. But we're very grateful to all of the people in Charleston and around the country that supported us.
Actually, around the world too. We
The
had
world,
orders
yeah.
from everywhere, from Kuwait, from Germany, from Dubai. It was
And
London, Paris.
But also we want to say thank you to all of the medias that covered us. We were on CNN, USA Today,
Oh, wow.
ABC4 News. The College of Charleston covered us twice.
Wow.
We're very, very, oh, and Fox News. But
humbled.
we're humbled and very grateful that people
But again,
wanted to hear
sir,
our story.
It's all about connections. So one person that knew us told Layla Gulen about us, and that rolled. And then everybody else wanted, saw that.
But CNN and USA Today found us on their own.
Yeah, they found us.
So
cool. Yeah. So I guess this was after you talked to the class last year.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think Yasmina has them all on the website. If you go about
Yes, on our website.
you'll be interested to look at the new ones. She was on
So we were first though.
Yes, you guys were first. Dr. Hansen, I'll send you my link via email to the website and the link to all of our links that are on the website as well.
Okay.
So you can send them out to the class and put them on Twitch.
Yeah.
But we are really humbled and grateful that you wanted to have us on this call. I'm sorry we had to cut it short.
Oh, that's okay. I ended up having another meeting in a little while myself. So
thank you guys for tuning in.
Yeah.
We really hope you liked our story.
Yeah, thank you. I had a bunch more questions, but we can chat later or something. But yeah, thank you very much for taking your time to speak with us, the class, and the rest of the world out there in Twitch land.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Good luck, all right?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So thank you everybody for tuning in for this somewhat short interview. I hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for some future